A very warm welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 8th August 2020. Day is Saturday. I would like to start today's discussion with this quote by Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson is a musician, he is social activist, and he's from America. He's famous for his country music. And what he says here is very interesting. Once you replace negative thoughts with positive ones, you will start having positive results. Very simple to understand quote, but what I want you guys to observe here or pay attention to is that once you replacing a negative thought with positive thought is in our hand. Right? Think about it. With this, dear friends, I have a good news for you. At present, StudyIQ is providing you 5% extra discount on all smart courses. This is our Independence Day sale, and you can use this coupon India 5. To find out more about it, all you have to do is download our mobile application. This offer is valid till 17th August only, so make the most out of it ASAP, that is as soon as possible. You can download the PDF of today's lecture from my Telegram channel. On our table, we have 3 important articles. The first one is about national education policy. Very interesting, very important article. There are so many things that we are going to talk about. Then we have one about Sri Lanka, politics of Sri Lanka. But the most important thing here is the recent result of elections in Sri Lanka is sort of a hint for our country. It's about what will be the future of India-Sri Lanka relationship. And then the last one is about COVID spiral. And then we are going to go through some news items. On your screen, you can see the photo of M. Venkaiah Naidu. He is Vice President of our country, right? And I'm sure you know many things about our dear Vice President, right? He is a very educated person. He started his journey from a very humble background. His biography is available on our platform, so you can watch that video. It's in Hindi, but the content is in English, if in case English language is not a comfortable language for you, then you can go through the main important points on your screen in that video. Okay, so to be honest, I adore M. Venkaiah Naidu. The reason is that for nearly one and a half year or something like that, I have analyzed Press Information Bureau news items on StudyIQ platform. I'm talking about starting from 2017 and till 2018 or mid 2018. I can't remember the exact months or year, but not months. I can't remember months, but I know about a year. It's 2018 somewhere. But anyway, so in this journey of Press Information Bureau analysis, I have read so many speeches delivered by M. Venkaiah Naidu as minister. He was a parliamentary affairs minister, and later on when he became vice president at that point of time as well, I have gone through so many of his speeches. So I still remember quite clearly that since then I have a huge respect for this person here. He is outstanding, and whenever he writes any article, I want you guys to read that article, analyze that article, look that article from various different angles, because you will find so many things, from this man, from M. Venkaiah Naidu. So this new education policy is comprehensive, holistic, as well as far-sighted. A few days ago as well, when this policy was launched, if you are a regular student, you'd be aware about this thing that I have analyzed 5-6 different articles on this particular topic. So this is going to be an add-on of what we have discussed so far. There are 2 committees that I want you guys to remember. The first one is TRS Subramaniam Committee. It was on education, and it delivered its report back in 2016. Then there was another committee, K. Kasturi Rangan Committee. It delivered its report, if I'm not wrong, back in 2019. So Government of India have gone through both these reports, and after going through these 2 reports, Government of India has decided that it has accepted so many recommendations by these 2 committees, and finally we got this new education policy of 2020. Now, the most interesting point here is that this education, NEP seeks to transform India into a vibrant knowledge society. Few basic things. Information. Information is more about quantity, right? You can have a certain amount of information, you can measure information, but knowledge is when you understand that information, when you analyze that information, when you digest that information, that becomes your knowledge. And when you have that knowledge, and when you add a flavor of experience on that knowledge, you become wise, or you develop wisdom, right? So these are three stages. Wisdom is the highest one, information is the primary one, but information is also important. I believe till now our system was more inclined towards information. It was more about getting higher marks. It was more about quantitative things. Knowledge is more qualitative. And just imagine a society that is filled up with this vibe or vibrancy of knowledge, right? So if we let's say, I'm not saying that we are just information society, we have a certain amount of knowledge, but in knowledge level as well, if we become more mature, if as a society, if we become more mature, then there are so many problems that we would be able to solve, like women empowerment, or this imbalance that we find between male, female, and transgenders. Then we can get rid of this dirty rivers. All these things are taking place because of lack of knowledge. That's what I think. I want you guys to comment on this thing. What do you think about it? So, good traffic sense, not throwing litter here and there, looking after environment. And there are so many things like conserving water, judicious use of water, judicious use of land, natural resources in general, and so many other things, right? Making more, or working for a more equal or just society. All these things we can achieve. We can convert our developing status into a developed nation status if we can develop this knowledge society, or we can create this our country into a vibrant knowledge society. So the big purpose of this new education policy is to convert or transform India into a vibrant knowledge society. It rightfully balances rootedness and pride in India. Our traditional systems are not wrong, they are not outdated. There are so many things that we can learn from our traditional way of life. But just sticking there is not going to help us. India, at once upon a time, we used to be at the peak of civilization. I'm not saying others were behind us, but we were unique, we were different, right? We were there, we were at the summit of our civilization, when art was taking new shapes in our country, when science was, running at a speed of a horse. So all these things were going on. I'm talking about 2,000 years ago, or maybe 1,500 years ago. At that point of time, we were at our peak. But the reason of our downfall was that's what I believe is because we never scanned outside, right? We were so happy with what we got. So this is also not right. I think we can learn so many things from our traditional system. At the same time, we need to upgrade ourselves. So we need to keep our one feet in traditions and the other feet in modern world. A fine balance. Here, Venkaiah Naidu is saying that I note with great satisfaction that one of its loftier goals is to bring 2 crore out of school children into school system and reduce dropouts. This is very important thing. At the same time, reducing this burdensome syllabus, focus on vocational education. I strongly reckon that we need to have one class every single day on listening. It's very interesting to find that we are trained to write, we are trained to speak, we are trained to read, but no one trains us for one of the most important sense in our human body, and that is listening, right? You can close your eyes, you can choose not to speak, you can choose not to read, but listening is something that is 24/7 on, isn't it? And it is one of the most important sense, right? But I don't know why this thing is neglected for a very long period of time. Listening is something that if we can make ourselves better listeners, then we can solve so many problems in our personal as well as professional life. Environmental education, again, a very important thing. Today, what we are doing is, it's going to decide our future or future generation. So, very important. The policy gives a fillip to holistic education by envisaging the convergence of science and arts stream. I told you earlier on that you can have one science subject, you can choose biology as well as music, and this is going to create some wonderful things. It reminds me of APJ Kalam sir. He was a perfect blend of art, spirituality, science, rationality, so many things. The focus on ethics and human and constitutional values, very important thing. So many of you will agree with me on this point that we have gone through this political studies when we were in schools, isn't it? But the day when we started preparing for Civil Services Examination, and then when we go through Lakshmikant, the Indian Polity by M. Lakshmikant, or any other books by Subhas Kashyap, or any other books, right? NCERT, if you are reading again, then you will come across so many things. Like, these are the things that we don't generally talk about in our life. Fundamental rights and fundamental duties and Attorney General and so many things. So you will observe this thing that there are so many people in our country, like I met so many doctors and engineers. They are brilliant in their field, no doubt about it. Good human beings as well. But when it comes to constitutional values and constitutional topics, they are not that much aware about it. So we need to have this awareness as well. This will make our democracy a bit more mature. Then right to education extended from year 3 to 18 years of age. Setting up a national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy, very important. And then one more interesting thing, we, in our country, we have so many kids. They are suffering from malnutrition. They are stunted, wasted, and so many other things. So here, kids will be provided energy-filled breakfast as well as nutritious midday meal. So you cannot, they say, I forgot the exact term or exact phrase of that, that you cannot fight a war or win a war with your empty stomach, something like that. It's same thing applies to our kids as well. You cannot expect them to excel if they are suffering from malnutrition. So this is going to be a game changer. Mother tongue, very important thing, right? Mother tongue is very natural. Mother tongue is the language in which we think, a language in which we dream, right? It is a very natural language to us. You will never forget your mother tongue. So mother tongue is very personal. It is part of our identity. It is connected with our culture, and it is also important for our cognitive development. And here in this article, M. Venkaiah Naidu sir is saying that when he meets world leaders, it's very interesting to find that there are so many world leaders, they are proficient in English language, but then as well, they choose their mother tongue. In conversation, they will speak with you in their mother tongue. Then you have to deploy one translator, but it's okay. They are like they are not just they are representing, or they are ambassador of their mother tongue, their culture, by speaking this mother tongue. It's not just about, it's not and you will get great confidence as well. You will observe this thing, of course, English, Hindi, or whichever language is your mother tongue, right, or Gujarati, or maybe Punjabi. That is the language in which you will have your you will be most confident in speaking when you are speaking in mother tongue. That does not mean that you cannot excel in other languages, right? But you will always feel that small click. That's mother tongue is mother tongue. There is something special about it. So it becomes very natural for us to learn things in mother tongue. But then as well, Government of India has kept this thing in mind, and I appreciate Government of India about this thing, that no language will be imposed on anyone. It's not about imposing a particular language, right? It's also about giving you a choice that you can choose your own. If your mother tongue is Tamil, then you should learn in Tamil. It's not that someone will force Hindi on you, or if your mother tongue is Hindi, then no one is going to force Tamil language on you. So these are just examples. So this education policy was long overdue, as we have discussed earlier on. It took 35 years for us to come out with new education policy, and this is the right time. I think we are a bit late, but anyway, if we are bringing it now, then it's okay. Let's implement it as quickly as possible. Of course, states, you need to bring states on board, and that will decide whether things will succeed or not. Means states coordination will play a very important role, and this national education or new education policy aims to increase public investment in education from current 4.3% to 6% of our GDP. And here M. Venkaiah Naidu is closing this article with a very interesting suggestion that we need to set a time frame. We should have a proper time frame, like from which date we are going to start it and by which date we are going to achieve this 6% of GDP investment in public investment in education. And that's everything from M. Venkaiah Naidu ji in this article. Now let's move on to next one. But before that, if you have learned something from today's discussion, please make sure that you hit the like button, share this lecture with other students, and please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have already subscribed, then do please ask 3 students to join StudyIQ, or do inform them about StudyIQ and let them decide what is good for them. After the lens slide, now let me quickly introduce all these 3 gentlemen that you can see on your screen. The first one here, he is the new Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. His name is Mahinda Rajapaksa. Mahinda Rajapaksa was the president of Sri Lanka. He lost election, I think it was in 2015. And then came a new president and prime minister. So this man here, his name is Maithripala Sirisena. He was the president, and this man here, his name is Ranil Wickremesinghe. He was prime minister of Sri Lanka. So during this Mahinda Rajapaksa's reign or tenure, things were a bit more autocratic, and he was a bit, bit more authoritarian as far as India is concerned. He was pro-China and anti-India. He gave permission for this Hamban Tota. I'm sure you would be aware about this Hamban Tota. If not, then I will take you through it as well. So this is basic over background of this Mahinda Rajapaksa. So then came this this coalition of these 2 politicians of Sri Lanka. So they came with this ray of hope, and people of Sri Lanka, they thought that they will change things forever for good. And no doubt this combo was pro-India. I can't say that they are anti-China, but they are pro-India for sure. But then these two people here, like Prime Minister and President, they used to fight with each other. They were not getting along that well with each other. They were in coalition government, but personally there was no that good rapport, and there were so many issues between them. And finally, back in 2019, remember last year there was this big blast in a church in Sri Lanka. The 2019 Easter Sunday blast or carnage, and this was a big failure of then government of these 2 gentlemen, like President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. They were not able to stop this terror attack. In spite, they got intelligence from India. So people were absolutely furious on the government. And then there was, back in 2015, there was this, not 2015, but back in 2018, there was, because these issues were going on between president and prime minister, there was this local election, and in that local election, February 2018, his party won. So this was a signal that in future, when we will have presidential or prime ministerial elections, then Mahinda Rajapaksa brothers, they are going to come back. And that's what happened. At present, Mahinda Rajapaksa's brother, his name is Gotabaya Rajapaksa. When Mahinda was president at that point of time, Gotabaya was one of his ministers. And today he is president, and his cousin, I think they are cousins. I'm not sure about their how they are brother. They are real brothers or cousins. I'm not sure. But anyway, they are brothers. So Gotabaya is president now, and Mahinda is prime minister. And in Sri Lanka, prime minister is more powerful. When you compare the system with India, in India, prime minister is more powerful. In Sri Lanka, president is more powerful. So Mahinda aspires to become president one day, right? This ambition is still there in him. So we don't know about the future, but one thing is that this government is going to be inclined towards China, and this is something that India we'll have to be very careful about, right? We don't want to see another front where issues are going on. Recently, we were talking about this thing. Remember that on one side, Pakistan has issued new map of Pakistan, then Nepal issued new map, and then we have already going this LSE issue with China. We don't want to see one more neighbor, Sri Lanka, creating issues for us. So new day, new dollar. Now this government, Modi government, will have to work with this Rajapaksa brothers government, and Sri Lanka has withdrew itself from this resolution 30 by one of United Nations Human Rights Councils, under which it had committed to fix accountability of war crimes and provide justice and repatriation to the Tamil minority over there. So let's see how the future will be. But one thing that I told you that it's going to be more pro-China, because see this Hambantota port here, this port at present is under the control of China for 99 years. China invested in Hambantota. China said that this is going to, you have a very important location in Indian Ocean, so you will see so many ships coming to your place, this Hambantota. I will develop this Hambantota, and there are thousands of 10,000 plus ship, they pass through Indian Ocean waters every year, so many of them will stay there, but they were just in 2 digits or 3 digits max out of 10,000 or 10,000 plus ships that pass through this area. So this project was a big failure. It's like debt trap, and now Sri Lanka has handed over this port to China, and China is going to use it for military purpose as well, which is a big red flag for India. Okay, so Hambantota point is over. Moving on to COVID spiral. Now experts are saying that community spread is on in our country, and that's a big warning flag, red flag for us. Right back in 8th July 2020, we were at 1.5 million cases. In 9 days, we have added 5 lakh cases, so average is of 50,000 cases per day. This is big, and India has already breached 20 lakh barrier. 2 million plus cases we have in our country, and 41,000 people have lost their lives because of this COVID-19. Now the thing is, this 20 lakh, I strongly believe this is official figure, but I think we are going to, I strongly believe that we have more cases, right? You can add easily add, if we are getting 50,000 cases per day, these are recorded cases, you can easily add 10k cases here. So roughly speaking, assuming this number is just an assumption that we get, I believe, 60 or 60,000 plus cases every single day. We are just behind Brazil, and there are experts there saying that we are going to take over Brazil. Brazil is at 2.8 million cases, USA highest 5 million cases, and community spread, as per experts, they are saying that it has just begun. Next million cases may take just a little over 2 weeks for us to reach. So this we are getting into the good thing is our fatality rate is quite low, as well as recovery rate is quite great, but that does not mean that we should take it lightly. We cannot give this excuse as well that we have high population here and we have no money and things like that, because there are so many countries. There are countries like USA, they have done quite well. They have tested their 18.8% population. Russia has tested 20% of its population. South Africa 5%. UK 25%. And here you see we have tested just 1.66% of our population, which is very low compared to other countries. We have to keep in mind that in our rural areas, we have high population, we don't have that good health as well as administrative infrastructure. So we have to shield our rural India from COVID-19. And we also find elderly people are living more in rural area compared to city area. So this is the right time to protect all of them, and this is the right time to create or to conduct more tests. Now we cannot give this excuse of poor country as well as overpopulation, because Brazil is not, if you compare their GDP with ours, then they are smaller than us, but they have tested 6.3%. Iran, going through so many problems, they have tested 3% of its population. So at least we need to cover 5% of our population. And right now, while the urban centers are bending the curve, unexpected hotspots are emerging. In some city areas, we see results we are getting there slowly, but new hotspots are emerging, and this is a matter of concern. And rural area should be a big matter of concern for us. So we need to create national protocols, or you can say the standard operating procedure for our country. And as I told you, the silver lining or the good thing is that recovery rate in our country is quite good and fatality rate is quite low. So that's a good thing. And we should not lose hope, because see, we are a country, we were struggling when it comes to masks and PPT and beg your pardon, PPEs, personal protective equipments, ventilators, masks, sanitizers, right? We were in short when it comes to the quantity of these things. But at present, we are exporting this thing. So if we can turn tables in this area, then we can, of course, test to so many people in our country. We can, at least, I would say 10%, 15% population testing is something that is achievable. We have high population, then we have high number of hands and legs as well working, isn't it? More foot. We can add more troops or this corona warriors. So these are the things that are going on. I have one question. 2 indigenous vaccines are showing promise and developers are preparing to begin simultaneous phase 2 trials. So can you give me the name of these 2 indigenous vaccines in the comment section? This is question for you guys. And now let's move on to news item. One thing, last point, right? Cannot miss this point. Given our population, we will have a recurring waves. So it's going to be like this, right? We are seeing some cases, then we'll see a drop, then again rise and low, right? So this is something that we will go through, so we have to prepare ourselves with it. At least 18 people killed in plane crash. It's very sad. Center asks states and UT to conduct corona test of all grocery shop workers, street vendors, etc. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated Rashtriya Swachhata Kendra today. Gujarat government has launched a new industrial policy in line with Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. India to host ICC Men's T20 Cup in 2021 and Women's T20 postponed till 2022. Hockey team captain Manpreet Singh players tested COVID-19 positive. Hockey player, he's hockey team captain. Hockey team captain Manpreet Singh tested COVID-19. And Bangladesh to construct a memorial for Indian soldiers martyred in 1971 Liberation War. OCI card holders can visit our country from these countries, and Sarpanch, Panchayats representatives should perform their responsibility for villages development, said NS Tomar. And today is 78th anniversary of Quit India movement. Very important. It started with Gwalia tank in Mumbai, and do find more information on it. It's a very important topic for your pre as well as mains examination. And the Serum Institute enters into partnership to accelerate manufacture deliver of COVID-19 vaccines for India. And Independence Day 2020 government schemes generating employment for youth. And that's everything from my side. Enjoy your weekend. God bless you all. Jai Hind.